the whole inspiration around plant-based foods just didn't happen in America. So let's talk a little bit about that, global connectivity.
Sure. I mean, with Food Tank, one of the things that we tried to do is really highlight the global and the domestic, right? We tried to really bridge those worlds and show how, what's happening in sub-Saharan Africa, there are similar things happening, in the United States around issues of food loss and food waste, around hunger, obesity, a lot of problems that we're facing. And one thing that I'm always really encouraged by is that I feel like, as Westerners, we always think that we have a lot to teach the rest of the world. And what I've seen is that actually we have so much to learn from the global south, learning from how farmers are dealing with climate change in other parts of the world, learning about more nutritious diets and indigenous and traditional foods and plant-based diets. I think there's a lot we can learn from those communities. So I think, one of the things that I'm so impressed with Michelle's work is that, and one thing that I think needs to happen globally is we need to switch from this idea you were mentioning in your opening remarks about we need to produce more food. And I'm not convinced that that's the case. I think that's kind of the sort of fake news when we're talking about the food system. And it's really, we need to produce more nutritious foods. We're really good at filling people up with empty calories and starchy staple crops and things that don't really nourish them. And we need to switch that paradigm and focus on really the things that nourish people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do get a little tired of that trope, I guess is the word, and we hear it a lot in the plant-based food movement as well. Oh my God, the population's growing and it's going to reach 8 billion by whatever year. And I just kind of have to roll my eyes because it perpetuates this idea that there isn't enough food and that, we as mostly white Americans who throw that around, have the solution, right? Which is absurd. And so it's absolutely all evidence in the world that global hunger can be caused with the food that is readily produced or could be produced by the people that are, in the countries where hunger exists. Let's talk about the US situation, which is really interesting. When you think about just the fact that a very small percentage of Americans are eating the recommended amount of fresh fruits and vegetables. That's partly a production problem, but not like, oh my God, how are we going to produce more food problem? It's a misallocation of resources and a very disconnected and backwards agricultural policies. So we do not produce enough fresh fruits and vegetables in this country to even meet the pretty meager federal dietary guidelines for how much we should be eating every day. And, so clearly there's a disconnect between the federal dietary guidelines for how to eat healthfully and our agricultural policies. Where do most of the, most of our agriculture goes to feed animals.
That's right.
Right, so corn and soy. And so that's what's so crazy about the disconnect between how we know we should be eating and our food policies.